Some of them don't absorb at all. That is the issue. Some of absorb and leaked. That is the issue. Some of them do not stick because sanitary pad, as per the construction in the standard, must stick. They have something we call wings. Yes. Maybe I may be going too technical.
No,
they
it's
have
important
wings.
to show it. No,
They have wings. So in the standard that we develop, a good sanitary pad must have wings. It's the wings that you tie, the two wings that you tie down the panty to hold it, and that hold it firmly in position until such a time you want to, remove it and then discard it. So some of them, they don't have the stick at the wings. Those that have the wings will not stick. And so if it's not sticking, like Hajia said, you wear it, it will just, once it shifts in position, you are going to have a leak.
To go north or south, east or west.
Yes. So these are some of the difficulties we had when we roll out the standard. But the good thing is that we always introduce the importers to this standard. We encourage them to buy the standard. And if you are sourcing your commodity from China, from Turkey, from Egypt, these are the main countries that we bring these commodities from. We encourage them to give them the standard, the manufacturers the standard, so that they will manufacture to meet this standard.
Right.
Because we don't have international standard for sanitary pad. There is no ISO standard. There is no US standard. There is no British standard. So each country tried to develop a standard to regulate the space. So we encourage them to get the standard so that when they bring the commodity here and it's being assessed, the commodity will conform to this, because data was peaked in this country before the standards were developed.
I want to invite Auntie Lamnatu to join the panel, because our third panel, so that it's not all male, if you don't mind. Okay, so would have some gender balance. So let's welcome Auntie Lamnatu Adam to join us. I mean, this is great education for me. So I'm just going to ask you again to tell us what a quality sanitary material must look like. Again, just reiterate that in terms of points.
Okay, so
your standards.
So I'm not going to give anybody an advert. So I'm not going to mention any products.
No.
So a good sanitary pad should be able to absorb. And in the standard, there are sets. Like Hajia said, there are people who are heavy flow. We have regular flow, and we have those who flow just a little. So in the standard, there is a room for something we call ultra thin, which is those who don't flow that much. We have something in the standard for regular, those who flow on a good average. And there are people who flow heavily or bleed heavily. We have the Mazi. So in the standard, all these things were taken care of before the standard was set. So if you know, another thing is, if you know you are a heavy flow person, there is no way you should go for the ultra thin or regular. That will defeat the purpose of using the sanitary pad. Right. So you should know who you are and also target the commodity you have to take on the market. If you don't do that, the sanitary pad or the product for that matter may be good, but it will not work for you because you go in for the wrong specification of the material. So you should know who you are and go according to what is good for you. So the standard set takes care of that. So heavy flow, in the standard development, we know averagely what volume of fluid that sanitary pad should take. I don't know if I have to be mentioning volumes and things, but all those are in the standard. Right. For purposes of constructing the sanitary pad, which is the manufacturing aspect, and for the regulatory aspect, for testing this in our laboratories to make sure they conform to the specification in the standard. This we have taken care of. And again, like I said, they must come with wings. If the wings are not there, then if the person jogs or double up, it will shift. And once it shifts, you will stain. Yes, you will stain. So these are some of the things. And then we also do a test which we call disintegration. So we want to see this product, if it's thrown back into the environment, averagely, how long will it take to disintegrate? Because it should disintegrate into the society, into the environment, so that we don't create another environmental issue. So you will see that in constructing the sanitary pad, about 95% of it is cotton. So that it can give you that ability to go back into the environment, because cotton will always disintegrate, and it should be organic cotton. Let me just give this quick information. We have organic cotton and we have cotton that are synthetic. The synthetic ones are used in other space of work. Those who are into brewery and all those, they use cotton, but those are synthetic. So that one of the tests that we do in our laboratory and the manufacturer must comply with is you must use organic grade cotton. It absorbs well, and when it's thrown back into the environment, it decomposes easily. These are some of the indicators in the standard that we look out for.
Very well. And really interesting education. I just want to feel like going on and on with you. So these standards are for both foreign products and locally manufactured products?
Yes, because there is no international standard. So if you are sourcing from China, we encourage you to get a copy, send it to your manufacturer, manufacture according to this standard.
If you're manufacturing in Ghana,
that one you don't have a choice. You have to go by this one.
Use it. So is there a way in which you publish certified products for the public to be aware that these are certified products on the market?
Yes, we do.
Where?
You can see that on our website. You have to go to the website, then you can see the product that have been certified, not only medical devices, drug, anything that is regulated by FDA. You go to our website, you will see the approved brands of products.
Including menstrual materials?
Yes.
Do you know that people are resorting to the use of diapers and pull-ups, heavy flow women, because the products on the market are not dealing adequately with the flow for heavy flow persons, and they are resorting to the use of that? Has it come to your attention?
No, but I'm not surprised. And that is why I'm saying that you should know who you are. If you are heavy flow, go for Mazi.
I'm saying that even Maxi doesn't work for some people in the first few days of their periods, even with the most established brands. I'm speaking from experience too.
That is a good information. That is why I said that every 5 years, the standard goes back for review. So this information is very good for the technical people like myself who develop the standard. So the next time when we are reviewing this, we may have to do a super Mazi. To take care of that, because at the time of doing it, at the time of doing the standard, the data we pick, we just limit it to Maxi.
Right.
But if we think after usage, 5 years of implementation of the standard, and we think there are deficiencies, that is good. We only need that information. In reviewing this, we create room for that. We only increase. There are things that we can increase and it will absorb more. There are a few things we'll take out, add a few things, and it can take more.
Great. Thank you very much. So I'll take a few questions. I know some people have questions, but Haja Lamnatu, you mentioned, somebody in the participants mentioned that our mothers have been managing their menses since time immemorial. That are there local ways of managing menstrual hygiene, for menstrual hygiene management, that maybe we should also look at as alternative ways, to the extent that pads remain inaccessible and unaffordable to many?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that in the past, like you mentioned, our mothers and grandmothers were using clean clothes. But with time, there were some challenges with it, because menstruation is considered as sacred, and the airing or drying of these clean cloths became a challenge. To understand that, it is believed that when you air it, the possibility of you having issues with your childbirth or somebody spiritually using it to harm you was high. And so women will then keep these rags, which need sun exposure, to their rooms. And it becomes an issue challenging their reproductive health, issues, and coupled with infections. And so the clean rags, yes, but it's how we manage it. There have been some recent reusable pad that we are encouraging. But like I mentioned in my submission earlier, it has to do with also a lot of water, detergents, Dettol, all of that. That also comes to complicate even the cost. So when you look at even the usage of these rags, the water, the Dettol and all of that, and you compare it to buying even the pad, you may want to say, let me just use a pad that I can use and just dispose easily and very comfortable. Of course, it's not every community you can get the pad. You cannot. There are some communities, I'm sure it will be the first time to even see a pad. I'm very serious. It may look like a joke, but if you really engage our underserved communities, you know that a lot of people don't even know about pad and how it is used. We have given pad to girls who have never seen it before, but you need to also show them how it is used, how to tag in the wings and all of that so that it sticks very well. So it is not available to people. It is not accessible as well. And so I'm happy that maybe we may need to look at how we can take the conversation further on what else to use if we are not able to get the pad. Looking at the fact that the cloths that we use may come with other challenges, and it can, let women and girls
it's
suffer
so curious
some
that
infections.
Hajia is speaking about the superstition around hanging your Amonsin. Amonsin. Amoshi. I think there are variants for various communities. But it's the same now, even with the disposal of sanitary pads, right? So we hear of all these Sakawa boys going around and looking for used sanitary pads for rituals. Please, I haven't seen, I don't know, I'm just sharing, rumors. But yes, we heard about those things. So it looks like superstition runs through time. So government commitment. Please, any questions out? Yes. Okay. Oh wow, there are a lot of questions to be asked. You want? Oh, you have to go, right? Okay. Yeah, I'm coming. He has to go. So let me just give him the right of last response in terms of beyond the petition. What next? Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I had to rush through. He made mention about a lot of companies producing locally, and I believe that is the way to go. Because if you look at still the taxes, as much as 20% is on importation. So once you cut off importation, that means a huge proportion of the burden that is placed on all of us who purchase sanitary pads would be off, beyond what government is doing in our core. Let me say what next is that the Vice President, I believe before election 2020, in Cape Coast, made a bold statement about sanitary pads and the fact that the taxes on it is going to be reduced. And in fact, it's boldly written in the MPP manifesto. And so the next step is to take this forward, that this didn't come from civil society, it came from government. 2020 up to now, we are getting to the next election. We've not seen any action from government as far as that is concerned. Yes. And to the extent that this is a big issue, we want to go to the doorstep of the president himself, because the point is it is his party who actually committed, the vice president and all those who matter. I think that would be the way to go as civil society. I indicated earlier I'm putting myself in civil society and also as government. Yes. Clearly, let me still repeat it again, so that we would know that we shouldn't be so much expectant within this year. That if you sit there as a policy person, you've made projections with revenue, and it comes up that in between you have to, go off that. It will affect a lot of things, practically as an economist. In the US, when they spoke so much about the tampon tax reduction, US government projected that they were going to lose as much as $55 million. For New York State alone, we are going to lose as much as $14 million. Unfortunately, we don't have the data for Ghana, But that should tell you that if no policy person considering this current state would say that before 2024, let us take off that. But it's important.
Who is it who actually sits and think that it's okay to tax menstrual blood?
Yes, so insofar as those projections have been made, you see, I'm just making things very practical for us to see that we have opportunity as civil society. If for nothing at all, 2024 budget is going to be prepared. So from the media, we should be looking at influencing the Ministry of Health, influencing Ghana Health Service, to make sure that that is factored in the budget inputs. Once that goes into the budget, I'm very sure that government have no option than in looking at 2024 revenue projections, they are not going to include that. And once that is done, I'm sure that is going to be well. The last thing, I mean, he spoke about the standard. If I heard him well, he was saying that the standard is sold, if I heard him well. You see, in as much as I understand Ghana Standard Authority, he's from FDA, so I won't hold him well. But if you are selling the standard that is going to help companies to produce the right quality and standard you want, not every company will buy. So why don't you rather make the standard public so that if I'm going to import it, I wouldn't have to go and purchase. Unfortunately, I don't know how much the standard costs. But I think that this ISO standards, things that we deal with, most of them are public. So I believe that Ghana Standard Authority should make this public. So it wouldn't be that I have to buy, because mind you, the company buying the standard is going to add that to the cost of production. I don't know how expensive it is though. So these are the few points. So I had to rush through. Thank you.
Dr. Emmanuel Eifa Medase, Deputy Country Director, Send Ghana, and he's also an economist. Many thanks. I'll take a few of your questions. Yes, please go straight to the point, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ellen, I didn't call you. So who's the first? 1, 2, okay. Oh my God. Archibald, hold your fire. The journalist, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first round. I'll come back to you, sorry. So please, kindly come and go around with the mic. Straight to the point, okay? No hypothesis, no premise, no conclusion. Please, kindly. No introduction, just go straight to your point. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you so much. This is very educational. I looked through your website and I saw 27 approved sanitary products. And out of the 27, only 8 are valid. Only 8 have the status valid. All the others are, their status are to expire in the next 3 months. And I'm emphasizing on the next 3 months, because that is just around the corner. So my question is, what do you do in line with this status? My hope is that it's not as and when they want, they come forward to. What do you do around this status? Is it there, or there is some strong action at your end, including taking them off the market? Because that is a lot. Thank you.
My name is Shirley. Sorry, my question is for the Ghana Health Service. I don't know if I can ask it. A lot of people are using baby diapers now. I want to know the harmful effects of using baby diapers for your menses, if it has any effect at all. And what is the proper way of disposing of your pad? Because there are stories about Sakawa boys using pads, and burning it is very difficult. So what is the proper way of disposing of your pads? Thank you.
Okay, Thank you very much. Please, I have quite like 2 or 3 questions. Maybe I could. Okay, so please, the first one, he mentioned some locations for some industries that produce sanitary pads in Ghana. He mentioned Tema, North Industrial Area, Free Zone, Enclave, among others. But then he didn't mention the names of these companies, because as a new person, if I'm going to look for these companies to speak to them on these issues, how do I find them? And also, the other issue is that FDA is not in charge of prices, yes, but then I feel like I know that when you are registering a product, or when you go to FDA to come and look at your products before they are put in the market, you have to pay a certain fee. So that particular fee is also factored into the price of that particular product. So even if that taxes on these sanitary pads are put out, some of these petty things they spend in making the product usable by the people will also be considered in the increment of the prices of these products. So how can you handle something like that and then make it favor?
Thank you very much. Shemima, you keep asking a question about luxury taxes, that bit about the tax being a pad being luxury. Maybe we shouldn't be asking that question. We should be asking government that if a sanitary pad is a luxury item, what is the alternative that they think is a non-luxury alternative? So we should be asking government that question. My question is, have we exhausted a conversation on the increased vulnerabilities of the inaccess of sanitary products to persons with disabilities as well? Because their access, their ability to use these sanitary pads are also exposing them twice as much as, able-bodied young girls. So we should exhaust that conversation as well.
Right.
And the reality of 2024 being the possible time we can scrap off the sanitary pad taxes is just a give or take. But then, can the FDA give us a timeline within which they would support the reusable pads? All the points that have been raised about, the fact that we need to get detergents, we need to get soap to, make them very good, suitable for use and reuse. Can the FDA support these local organizations and groups that have come out with samples, reusable sanitary pads, so that they are of a very good standard that we can fall on as a stopgap while we wait for government to do the needful?
Yeah,
Thank you.
especially I've seen a few, and like the fabric is not, the local fabric that they are using to sew them is quite not absorbent. And I can just imagine a lot of dripping if you're using that one. Yes, sir. Then we'll come and take the answers. I'm feeling for you. It's one already. So that's why I'm thinking that we should, move on. But he's here. We'll definitely, you can ask more questions when we go for lunch. Yes.
Thank you. Affirmation from GNA. My question goes to Mr. Safako. You said 70% of the sanitary pad did not meet the standard. 70% on the market did not meet the standard. When did you discover that? If you can tell us, when exactly did you discover that? Is it through research that you discover? Then, I believe before this product will go to the market, it must to go through testing by FDA and Ghana Standard Authority. So what due diligence did you undertake to ensure that this even product not go to the market in the first place? Then, what measures have you taken to retrieve this product that you discovered did not meet the standard? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to answer these questions. Okay, the first person was trying to get to the website, and then what happens on the website as far as renewals are concerned, or when the license expire, what happens? Because you said some of them are left with 3 months or some information. Okay. So it works this way. So if you are giving market authorization, FDA gives market authorization. I don't speak for GSA, and I don't want to speak for GSA. But I want to say something brief. GSA sets standards for regulators, not only FDA. GSA is the national institution responsible for setting standards for all agencies. It can be environmental, it can be food research, it can be drug research, it can be anything. GSA is there just to be looking around, developing standards for this country. That is their main activity. So they set standards, and those standards that are applicable to us per our law framework, then we pick those standards, and then we run those standards on the ground. So they set standards. So that is how come this standard was set. So we give market authorization. So we use the standard to assess the product. Then if the product are fit for use, then we give them market authorization. The market authorization is for 3 years. And you are cautioned that before the 3rd year elapses, 3 months to the 3rd year, you must make a way back to the FDA to renew the authorization. If not, after the end of the 3rd year, the market authorization given to your product is no more valid. At that point, when our inspectors go and they find that the product is still on the market, you, the importer, you, the manufacturer, you, the distributor, you'll be held responsible for that. The product have to be removed from the market. But within the journey of these 3 years, we have something we call post-market activities. So once the product is given market authorization, do I have time at all? Okay. Once the product is given market authorization, we produce in batches. We develop things in batches. So the batch that was brought to us for giving the market authorization is not going to be the same batch on the market for the 3 years. New batches will be coming. But the standard makes room that once your compliance to the standard is okay, any other batch that will be coming should be the same as the one you gave to us that we gave the market authorization. But we don't want to give chances. So once we give you the market authorization, within the 3 years, we'll come on the market. This time, FDA will come on the market and also behave as a consumer, and we'll buy. Budget is allocated for that. We'll buy the product as if we are also going to use, but we will not use it on human beings. We will use that product again in our lab, just to see if other batches that are coming are conforming to the standard. So this is what we do. That is within the 3 years that you have the valid license. But remember, 3 months before it expires, if you are still interested in doing that business, you must find your way back to FDA to renew the permit. And in renewing it, there are requirements. I will not go in there yet. Yes, somebody spoke about the disposal. How do we dispose of? As for the disposal, once you put it if you put it on the land-free site, it will decay. It's only a matter of time. Burning it will not burn, but because remember, they use some small rubbers around it to hold the cotton and the gel. We have something in there. There are a few gels there. They all help in the absorption. When you burn it will not burn. But when you leave them even in your garden, you can do this experiment. If you have just a backyard, no cement, just put it there. Let the sun heat it, let rain heat it over time. Go and see. If you use a stick to touch it, you see that it's just giving way. Covered. Yes, not covered. Yes, it will decay. It will decay. But as part of a labeling requirement in this country, anything that you produce, you must give indication how it should be disposed. It's another thing we look out for in the labeling requirement of every product, including sanitary pad. So the manufacturer must tell us how that sanitary pad must be disposed of, and it should be written boldly on the package. The issue is, are people able to, unfortunately, the labeling guidelines says that the information should be in English. But if it's in English but the person cannot speak, that is where the difficulty is. But that is the guideline we have. If we can say, amend it to have other languages fine. But for now, it should be in English. So the manufacturer must tell us how that product must be disposed of after use. So that information is also there. When people use the dye instead of the sanitary pad. No, we don't have any information on that. I'm hearing it even for you from the first time. I didn't know about that. But you know, the baby pull-ups and the baby diapers, some are like a panty. Those are the one we call pull-ups, and those that have the tips, we normally call them the diapers. But they are the same. They are also to absorb fluid. So it's either a urine that they are absorbing, and this one is absorbing blood. But again, they are all in a liquid state, and they should all absorb. In fact, the composition of a diaper and then the sanitary pad, if you look at that standard, is the same. The diaper, there was no standard. Again, we developed that in 2017. It was after that we moved to the 2019, and then we developed the sanitary pad standard. Yes, the three companies, I don't want to give anybody adverts here, so I'm not going to mention their name. But you can still find them at the free zone and the North industrial area. They are still there. They are working. I still have some of them, the application in the office. Yes, registration fees. Somebody spoke about some fees and things. Yes. So we have registration fee that we charge for products. And again, like Honorable said, these fees are fees that are approved from Parliament. So they are not they are things we propose and government agrees, and then they become part of the LI that we are using. So there are fees. But these fees are not something that should be a worry. For instance, I don't speak for GSA again, but the standard is 100 Ghana cedis. For a manufacturer who is going to produce tons and tons and tons of sanitary pad, to buy a standard that you use for 100 Ghana cedis for the next 5 years, before maybe if it's renewed. We can send this standard back for review in 5 years. If I don't get the input we are getting that the MASI are not working, we only publicize the same standard again. Nothing will be changed. Unless we know that there are few deficiencies, some of them is just a sentence that will change in the whole body of the standard. So if you buy a standard for 100 cedis for 5 years or probably 10 years, so you come and charge the consumer that much? No. I think consumer groups must be active and be working.
Very well.
And I think the last one is, the data I gave was 2019 when I said 70%. I don't have the data now, but I can tell you that now we have much clean market as far as sanitary towels are concerned. But just quickly to add to what Hajia said about reusable sanitary pads, we need to be very careful when we are going to that space. Because, you know, fabric, they leach. Color, they leach. And some of them can be very harmful. And where we are sending those fabrics are more or less semi-wounds areas. They are open wounds semi, let me say so. So if you send a fabric that leaches and will leach color, and the colors that the textile company use, some of them are very harmful. Some of them, when you wash, even you buy clothes and you wash them, you see the dye coming out. Those dyes, some of them are very, 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 very harmful. They can lead to all manner of cancers. So if we are advocating for reusable, we should be thinking of what kind of material. We should be thinking of how it should be washed. How many wash? Because these are things that must absorb. You must be thinking, is it going to be 10 washes, then you should not use it again? Because after a number of washes, it will not have the potency to absorb. I'm using the word potency here carefully. It may not absorb because the strings in them, in the fabric, as it's woven, will open up. There are a lot. In fact, there is no standard yet. And these are things everybody is thinking about. So for reusable, there are many things. Again, are we going to use hand to wash the reusable or washing machine? Now, if you use hand, you are exerting so much pressure on them, you will destroy the fabric. If you are using washing machine, fine. How many people will be using the washing machine? There are a lot of nuances when it comes to this space. We need to hasten a bit slowly and look at what we can do now, and then do a more research and see what we could do our reusable in the future.
Our problems are many. Oh my God of mercy. Haja.
Yes, I think that we need a serious conversation with the reusable part, because it has come up, and then a lot of civil society are advocating for it. The conversation around persons with disability, I think that it's important we take the conversation further, because one, it's about access also. And then also, like he said, how are the wings in the pad like, and what kind of support is there for people who are not just physically challenged, but even persons who are mentally challenged, to be able to use the pad properly. So for me, I see an issue about accessibility and an issue about support in the usage of it. But then also, if it is about accessibility and about cost, should we then be doing a different advocacy, about the cost, or we should go to emphasize the issue about targeting? So these are all issues that I think can come in the conversation around persons with disability accessing sanitary pads.
Let's give our panel members a round of applause. I know this conversation can go on. GNA, I suggest that you grab him and then, let him give you all the answers. Collect all the answers, okay? But for now, we need to move on. So thank you so very much. And that was Mr. Roland Sefako. Sir, is it a Mr. or a doctor? He is head of medical devices at the department, medical devices department at the Food and Drugs Authority. Thank you so very much for such an illuminating discussion. We also heard from Dr. Emmanuel Eifa, Deputy Country Director, SEND, as well as Hajia Lamnatu Adam, who is with Executive Director for Sungtaba. I'm going to invite Madam Ellen from the GES to give us her remarks, and then we quickly now speak to the young girls themselves. What is their lived reality? Let's welcome Madam Ellen to give us her remarks.
After sitting for a while, can we have an icebreaker? Let's stretch. Stretch. Hey, it's been very insightful, and we thank our resource persons. Please, can we sit down? Thank you. So I shared a presentation this morning. That reason has instituted a number of programs, interventions, and structures to ensure that especially our female students are retained. And whilst they are retained, they go through completion and become productive adults in future. Please kindly move to the next slide. So, government has also introduced, our mother ministry is Ministry of Education, and the Education Ministry has a number of agencies, numbering about 22, and my agency is Ghana Education Service, headed by my Director General, Dr. Eric Nkansa. And we have a number of divisions and units under Ghana Education Service. So some of the units that are spearheading female education are the SHEP. SHEP is School Health Education Program, the Girls Education Guidance and Counseling, Special Education Unit. In fact, division, special education is a division. In fact, the ministry's policy is not leaving any child out. So we have a comprehensive program on inclusive education which caters for our learners with special needs. And we haven't left them out in our MHM education. Recently, one of our partners have supported us to braille some of our MHM materials. So we are going to train them on the use of it. And then when it comes to construction of toilet facilities, per the national minimum standards, it should be separate for girls, for boys, and a changing room for the girls. And then also, the toilet facilities should come with disability-friendly rails and ramps to make them accessible to our learners with special needs. So some of the government flagship programs are also contributing to improve school retention for both boys and girls and completion. But in spite of all these, there are challenges. In fact, educating a child is a collaboration, it's partnership. So definitely we must be sure of some of the challenges. So in some of the schools, for instance, there is inadequate water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities. With respect to menstruation, too, we know that there are still cultural practices and taboos happening. There is discomfort and pain with respect to some of the girls experiencing it. And then limited access to absorbent materials and inadequate information. All these are challenges our girls and women go through. So our education, we target boys as well, so that they will support the girls when they soil themselves. Please, next slide. So some of the interventions. At the national level, we have constituted a National Technical Committee on MHM, and the committee consists of ministries, departments, and agencies, the development partners, the NGOs. No, SAC, you are not on it. So we will make sure that we enroll you on it so that we work together for the good of our learners. Then we have also developed educational materials on MHM, and before the materials were developed, in 2014, with support from UNICEF, a study was conducted in Zabzugu district of the Northern Region and North Dai district of the Volta region. And based on recommendations, we developed the educational materials, and then the materials were launched during the 2017 Menstrual Hygiene Day commemoration. At the launch, we also launched the campaign. Our campaign is Be Amazing. So when I say be amazing, the response is period. Be amazing, period. Meaning that we want menstruation to become an amazing experience. Then, apart from that, we have also developed and disseminated MHM guidelines. That was done 2 years ago. Unfortunately, our challenge has been dissemination to the whole country. But I believe that with our advocacy and engagement, we will get there. Then, we are also trying to standardize reusable sanitary pads. We know that all the fingers are not the same. We are talking about access, we are talking about affordability of the single-use sanitary pads. So in areas where they are not accessible and we can't afford it, we fall on the reusable sanitary pad. It's better than the papers and rags and toilet rolls our girls use. So we have started with engagement with Ghana Standards Authority and Food and Drugs Authority to help us go through the standardization of the reusable sanitary pads. Please, can we go to the next slide? So the Be Amazing campaign, as part of efforts to help girls feel bold, we want our girls to feel bold, confident, stand tall, and see menstruation as an amazing experience. Yeah, Ghana Education Service and the National Technical Committee launched the Be Amazing campaign by the then Director General. And the campaign targets boys and girls, targets boys and men, because in some of the schools, we don't have female teachers. So when the need arises, it's the male teachers they will fall on. And the campaign also targets parents and the school community. In fact, some of the parents are simply irresponsible, you know. That is why they leave their girls to sell their bodies for sanitary pads. So the education targets them. Then the campaign also, we have developed the national minimum standards, and we want to see it in use. So school buildings are expected to come with toilet facilities and the specifications such as the gender-friendly and disability-friendly things I've mentioned. So please, let's go to the next slide. Then, when the campaign was launched in 2017, there was a study 2 years after. So the study was done in 2019 to assess whether the materials we've developed are really making impact on the children. And the feedback was that there was a reduction in the number of pupils not comfortable talking about menstruation. It reduced from 21 to 12% during that time. And there's also boys teasing girls as a result of the education reduced from 28 to 4. And then knowledge on menstruation also increased from 68 to 81%. And this gave an indication that the educational materials developed, and for it to be used as a supplementary teaching material, was making an impact on our learners. And that is what we have built for our learners with special needs. So very soon we are going to move in there. Please, the next slide. Please, the next slide. So, this is something about the menstrual hygiene guidelines which we have developed. It is to be used by all partners. We want to carry across the same information to our learners. So it is targeting health workers, community development workers, education officers, environmental health and sanitation workers, community volunteers, WASH professionals, UN agencies, NGOs, traditional religions, everybody is targeting everybody. If you get a copy of it, we all have our roles being carried out in the schools currently. Training for our SHEP coordinators. So we have SHEP coordinators from national right down to the school level. So at the national level, we have a director with the program officers. Regional level, we have regional coordinators. District level, district coordinators. School level, we have the school-based health coordinators, and we conduct training for them to give them the first-hand information to be able to disseminate to our learners. So with our learners too, we have the school health clubs. Every school is supposed to constitute a school health club. It's a school-level coordination which sees to the day-to-day running of our health education activities. So during their meetings, they discuss with their peers topics in relating to hygiene and menstrual hygiene management. They also carry out quizzes, drawings, competitions, and a lot of activities. And then the school is an integral part of the community, so we can't do all these and leave them. So we involve the school community. So the PTA, SMC, during meetings and community debates, at every opportunity, we all engage the parents. Please, the next slide. So challenges, scaling up our interventions, especially in our orphan regions. Providing our SHEP coordinators with adequate resources to carry out intervention, monitoring of programs, and access to sanitary products and facilities in the schools. I think that is all. Thank you. So I want us to see the Be Amazing. So be amazing. Yeah, that is it. Thank you. And
it's not always easy, but when you are passionate about the cause, there's no strength, so she would continue to do right by the children and the girls of Ghana. Aunt Ellen, thank you. You may take your seat. All right, so now we come to the, I think the most important aspect of today's event. I would like to invite Faiza Swalisu. She's the regional coordinator for Girls Network, to take her seat here with me. Saidu Najat. She's a nurse and a member of the Youth Advisory Board for GH Alliance. Take a seat here as well. And Saida Imoro is the NUCS president for UDS. Yeah. I love student politics when I was there. Proudly so. Great job. You're a hard girl. Welcome to our session and our conversation with the young girls who are currently experiencing the worst brunt, I must say, with this period crisis that we were speaking about. So welcome, ladies, and thanks for joining us. So I'm going to start with you, Faiza. In fact, all of you, I just want you to share briefly, how you feel, your own personal experience with the onset of your period and how you felt at the time, okay? Right. Did you think you were prepared? Did you have enough knowledge, information? How did it happen? Who did you talk to? Just that kind of, beginning.
Thank you so much, Mom. For me, my experience was kind of one of the worst things that has ever happened to me. So I woke up early morning and I went to the bathroom to perform ablution to pray. So immediately I removed my pants. I saw that there was some drop of blood. So immediately I just rushed and said, Mom, it seems the world is about to end for me. It seems I'm coming to die. And so she was like, no, you are not coming to die. You relaxed. Don't pray again. This time, if you're in your period, that means that you don't need to pray again, okay? So you come. But if a man just touch you like this, you are going to get pregnant. I said, hey. So the first week that I had my menses, when I went to school, actually we usually sit with a boy and a girl. So I went to Madam, I was like, today I'm not sitting with Malik. That was the guy's name. So Madam asked, why? I said, no, my mom, I've experienced something, and my mom said, if a guy touch me like this, I'm going to get pregnant. So I'm not sitting with a man. I'm not sitting with a guy today. And my madam actually took me through it. She actually educated me, and then she asked me if I had a sanitary pad. And I said, yes. My mom showed me how to use it. So from there, madam started educating us on menstrual hygiene management and also some of the things we need to do and not to do when we are in our period.
So until the onset of your menarche, you had never had any conversation around?
No, my mom never discussed that with me. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you very much. A round of applause. Najat.
I think it's the same story as mine. It was a Saturday morning, and I had prepared to go for extra classes, and I felt after I had dressed and I was ready to go, I felt really uncomfortable, so I had to go back to the bathroom and check. Then I saw that there was blood, and I was like, what's happening? I went to my mom, and she followed me to the bathroom to check, and all she could say was that I've become a woman. So right from there, she didn't know how to use a sanitary pad. So a cousin of mine that was living with us came to share with me her sanitary pad and showed me how to use it, and they also gave me a spare one to also use. Yeah. Right. So that was it, basically.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mine. I came from school. Actually, on my way from school, I felt like I was wet in my panties. But then I knew very well I did not pee.
Yes.
And as I was even grown, I used not to pee on myself. So I was wondering. But I didn't want to really talk to my colleagues about it because somehow I felt like, I had never experienced such a thing before. So I was afraid to be mocked, and they can't see what is there. So obviously they will bring different stories from it. So I didn't tell anybody. I go home and my mom wasn't around. It was my sister. We are actually 3 girls, and I'm the last one. So it was my senior sister, and then I told her I was feeling funny under, but I don't know why it's happening. So she told me to go into the washroom and then, just check. So I did, and I saw that there were some drops of blood in my undies. And when I came, I told her that I saw some drops of blood in my undies. I don't know what is going on. Did I get a cut and I didn't feel any pain? So why is that? So she told me that she just laughed. Initially, she laughed so hard. And she told me that it wasn't a cut, but rather I'm experiencing my menses. As I was just 12. I was in JHS 2 by then. So she told me I was experiencing my menses. I was like, what is menses?
So you hadn't also heard about menses?
No.
Your sister hadn't even discussed with you?
So I think the issue was that I didn't, quite notice them using it regularly.
Right.
Maybe whenever they are doing it, I'm not around, or I didn't just observe it at all because I didn't see the need for anything like that. I didn't know what it was. So she gave me, she removed one of her sanitary pads from her bag, and then she removed the new panties that she had bought, and she put it on. Then she showed me how to use it, and she told me that tomorrow when I'm going to school, I should put it like this and like that, because she was also in senior high as at then, so she might go to school before me. So she taught me how to do it. And the next day when I did, I was so uncomfortable. Like, it was some extra panties in my panties. So I was uncomfortable. So even when I went to school, I went to the washroom like every 5 to 10 minutes.
Right.
To just
to be sure.
see what is going on under there. And I was also more or less...
Was that distracting for you, that first experience, in terms of your schoolwork?
Well, it was very destructive. Because at some points too, I'll just be, hiding and staring behind me to see if something has come out. Yeah, so basically that was how my first experience was when it comes to menstruation.
A round of applause for that. So, I think I had a question to ask, a follow-up question to ask about this, and it just escaped my mind. But so from what you people have said, it's almost like all of you were lucky to experience the use of sanitary pad right from the beginning. So is that the only menstrual material you have had to use ever since? Anybody can go with that.
So for me, I think after the first day, my mom got me a pad, but because of how expensive it got, she was like, she can't afford anymore. So why don't you resort to the use of rags? So I think that was what I was using for some time till I could afford sanitary pads on my own.
Right.
Yeah, I've been using sanitary pad since senior high school. So when I went to the tertiary school, when I went to UDS, it was actually difficult because looking at the money they send me, and always if I'm menstruating, my mom will give me 100 cedis for 2 weeks. And if I'm menstruating, for me, I'm a heavy flower, so I use 2 pads. I use 2 for 1 month. So if I'm going to remove 30 cedis, 35 cedis to patronize sanitary pad for 1 month, it wasn't easy.
So how did you manage?
So a friend actually started with this reusable sanitary pad. And as a youth advocate, now I know it's not convenient for us to be using it. But I actually advocated for it because I thought it was the only option that was left if I'm not able to patronize the sanitary pad, reusable, disposable one. So I had it from a friend, and then I think it was wise for me to also kind of like share it with others, especially those around my campus. So I started using it, and also if I get the opportunity to visit school, I also send some along and then give it to the girls.
So there's a major question about the use of reusable pads, and I think Hajja Lamnatu referenced the issue of water and how to properly maintain it. How easy was it for you as a young girl having to use reusable material?
It was quite difficult. So I remember that whenever I was in my period, I would have to wash in the bathroom. That's before bathing.
Right.
Then I would dry it inside the bathroom. So that's how I was doing it. Because it was not comfortable bringing it out for people to see the stains. There'll still be some stains a little on it and know that, oh, you're menstruating. People will get even uncomfortable about it.
Right.
So that was how it was.
So you would stay in the bathroom till it dried? Till it dried?
No.
Okay.
So I would leave it in the bathroom.
Okay.
Then later in the day, I'll go for it.
Right. So it was always, it's difficult for you to dry it outside.
Yes,
so
it's difficult for you
did
to
you have to deal with any medical issues as a result, you think?
Well, I don't think I observed for that, but
Right.
maybe I did. I should have.
Right. Saida, how about you?
Well, let me add that also it was difficult using them because of they really didn't absorb that much. So going to school every day, I almost soiled myself. Every day I did, and
Wow.
I would have to sit back in class when everybody's gone home. Sometimes during breaks, I'll have to sit and not go out for break because of the shame and other people seeing that, oh, you have soiled yourself and all that. So it was really.
Were
really
you ever
difficult.
mocked by your colleagues?
Not that I remember, but maybe they did it behind my back.
Right.
Yeah.
Very well.
Well, me, naturally, I was afraid of using the cloth. Even if I didn't have a sanitary pad, I would rather borrow or use some of my sister's sanitary pads growing up. And even to UDS, I still sometimes borrow from my roommates or my friends because I am someone who have a really heavy flow. I think more or less like 5 years old.
Right.
Because when I'm in my period, I have to use like 2 pads in the month.
Right.
So I will always imagine if this cloth will just get soaked in the middle of a
Yes.
lecture, and I'll have to run to go home to the hostel to wash it and come out with the cloth. So I have always been
Just
afraid.
to
So even the
burdensome.
reusable sanitary pads, I have never tried it.
Right.
Yeah.
So have you had to miss school, especially when you were in, say, junior high school, for example, on the onset of your menstruation? Have you had to miss school hours as a result?
Yes, I have ever missed school. In fact, severally. I live with my aunt, and she traveled. So, but then, my dad too is also not around. I'm the first lady of the house, so I was in charge. Now, I use 2 pads per month. So, the part that was left for the next mens, for my next menstruation, it was kind of like 4. Yeah, it was 4. So when the menses came, I was like, okay, instead with 4, mom is not around. We only have food in the house, no money to buy pad. And I was like, okay, if I use it 2 today, I'll manage 2 for now. The next day, I'll manage 2. So that one, I went to school. But the following day, I was like, okay, I don't have pad. So what do I do? Should I go to school like that? So I was just like, no, I can't go because this is very sensitive. If my friends see, definitely they will laugh at me or they will make mockery at me, especially with the guys.
Right.
Yeah. So I just said that no, let me just relax at my corner and then enjoy the menses in peace.
Okay, so I didn't have to skip school because my parents were always around and I'll have to leave home before they get to leave the house.
Right.
So what I did instead was to get a pullover, a sweater.
Okay.
So when I go to school and I am soiled, I just have to tie it around my waist so I can go about.
So
my
with the
stuff.
use of the cloth, did you always have a spare in your bag just in case you soiled the one you were using?
Yes, I always had a spare, but still, it will still get soiled.
So what was the state of the toilet or sanitary facilities in your school?
Interestingly, it was very poor. It was just a urinary pit.
Okay.
Yeah,
So describe a urinary pit. How does it look like?
Well, just 4 squared.
It's like a shed.
No
4
roof
square.
on it. Yeah,
It's open
that
top.
Open top. Yeah, that kind of urinary
Right.
pit. Yes. So
With
that-
stones or sand?
Yeah, with stones so that you can put
Okay.
your hands. It was cemented. The floor was cemented. So you just go. So you have to get your own water. Maybe just get a pure water. So when you go, you can tie
Wash.
it and wash your hands before you get out. Yes.
So it was not comfortable at all.
At all. Not
Where
at
it
all.
was situated, when you were going to it, does everybody see that you're going
Everybody
into the...
sees that you're going to the washroom. So these are where the classrooms are, and this where
Right
the
opposite.
where the
So
washroom
engineers,
is.
you see, even where you situate a toilet facility or a urinal will determine the comfort level of girls to come to school because they don't want to know. They don't want people to know. I mean, this is your private business, but half of the time, if you have to visit 2-3 times, everybody will guess. So where your urinals matters
Yes,
to young
it
girls.
does matter. It does. Because for me, going there and being soiled, and everybody's eyes is on me. They're like, oh, look at this girl. She's going to change her pad. It wasn't comfortable for me. Yeah.
Saida, any harrowing experiences you have had?
Well, the issues of the washrooms was just too bad. Because when you go, you don't even know where you're putting your pad paper. When you remove it, you don't even know where you're putting your pullover. Because most of us, okay, let me speak for myself. I used to use the pullover a lot. So most of the boys, they began to notice that a lot of girls use the pullover. So they were even teasing us sometimes when you are putting on a pullover, even if it's not like you are soiled. But then they will still tease you when you are putting on a pullover because they will feel like you are in your period. So during those, when you go inside, like I said, I have very heavy flow. So when you are in school, at least you change like 2 or 3 times. So you have to definitely go into the washroom. And the washrooms are just so bad. You see,
Were they for both boys and girls or at least your school had
Well,
separate
it was
urinals.
divided by a wall. So we
Okay.
had the boys' side and the girls' side. So even if you are going to the washroom and you realize that there's a guy there, you are shy because the rubbers of the pad and other things would, you know, they will notice that you are doing something
You are
more
doing
than,
something.
more than just peeing and going out. So that alone made me so uncomfortable. So though I had to go to school because there were certain times that I didn't even go to school when I was menstruating because
Right.
possibly my pad wasn't much. Like I said, sometimes I will even go to school and then I have only one pad I have to put on. So I'll look at that fact that if I put on just one pad, I know by the close of the school, we close like 2 p.m. By the close of the school, when I'm coming back, I'll be all soiled.
Oh, no.
And I'll have to wear
The
the
pullover.
pullover. And this pullover that now the boys are even teasing us that we are. So there were certain times that I felt like I couldn't really go to school because if I go at the end, I'll soil myself and they will still tease me. So
So this has been a long struggle from primary. Now all of you are in university, right? Has the situation changed in terms of your ability to afford, you know, sanitary materials? How are you managing your menses now, even at the university?
well, I would say it has improved, but it hasn't changed.
Right.
In the sense that there are still most times that I can't afford a sanitary pad myself.
Okay.
So you will see that you either have to borrow or you won't go for lectures. You just tell your colleagues that you're not feeling well. Then you have to stay at home and use just one pad the whole day. So I even remember quite recently, that was like 2-3 months ago, I had to treat an infection, a urinary tract infection. Though somehow I suspected that was the cause of it, but then it really became a challenge.
Right.
Because sometimes you just have to manage with what you have, and then you
Yes.
have to stay at home or stay in the hostel without going to class.
So period poverty is real. Najat.
Yeah, I wouldn't say much has changed. It's still the same. Yeah, because parts are still, it's triple of what we used to buy. I think the time I had started menstruating, pads were around 5 cedis.
Right.
And now if you are buying, it has even quadrupled. You are buying pads around 20 cedis. Much
20
hasn't been
cedis.
done. We should have seen that parts, the prices of parts have reduced so that people, adolescent girls most especially, can afford some. Because
So we've heard stories of girls who have had to go into relationships with men just so they
like
can
I said,
afford. Do you have
the
any
problem
similar stories?
keeps getting worse by the day. Now, first, I'm not sure people resorting to the use of rather rags or cloths. But
Right.
now, young girls are motivated to do men to get
their
pads.
pads.
That's how bad it has gotten.
So I have
Liza.
a story to share, a real-time story.
Right.
Mariam is one of the mentees under the Skills for Future project by Girls Advocacy Network. And she's in senior high school. So I happen to live in Nyankpala, UDS Nyankpala campus. And Mariam lives in Bachi, just a walk to my campus. It's not far, a few meters. So I asked Mariam, how are you managing your menstrual cycle? She told me, if I'm going to school, my mom, they will provide me with gari, shito, biscuit, and some little things. But they only give me 50 Ghana cedis. 50 Ghana cedis. I asked her, okay, so how do you manage the 50 Ghana cedis with buying parts? She said that, okay, the 50 cedis, the first week I go to school, I only afford one, which costs 18 Ghana cedis. So that means that she's having almost like 32 cedis left. 32 cedis left. She will need to be buying water because the school wouldn't, like, she will need to buy water, maybe buy certain stuffs that she also needs in addition. And I asked her, okay, so when you menstruate, and like they stay in school for 3 months. So I asked her, so within those 3 months, how do you manage with that one sanitary pass? She would tell me that, okay, sometimes I'll borrow from friends. And now friends are even fed up with me. If I go and ask, they will tell me that the previous ones you've asked for, you've not returned it. So sometimes I even had to manage and then cut some of my distance. They have the cloth. So she will cut it and that's what she's using. I said, okay, how do you manage it? And she was like, it's serious because mostly even the water to bath cry is a problem. How much more washing it?
Yes, yes.
It's a whole lot.
It's a whole lot indeed. One last but one question I want to ask all of you. When you were in primary school, how accessible were sanitary materials? So even if you could afford to buy a pad, would you say you would find it in almost everywhere in your community and in some of the communities that you work with? Have they even seen a pad before? And where might you even get to buy a pad from?
Okay, thank you very much. Well, as at then, there were stores that were nearby. So, like one particular store in my area had sanitary pads.
Right.
So if you go there and the sanitary pad is finished, then that means you have to buy it in town. As at then, you have to buy it from town, or maybe you call your mom or someone that is coming to the house to buy you sanitary pad on her way or his way to the house. So as at then, it wasn't really prevalent and so easy to get like now.
Okay.
Now, even though it's prevalent, we can't even buy it.
Right.
So it's more or less like it should have been that way so that we find other alternatives. But that notwithstanding, at least now it is more prevalent and people can have access to it than before. Yeah, so I also have an example to give.
Okay.
There was an assignment that we were given. I do social change communication, and it was under a videography course that I did. We were made to make documentaries. It's like it will serve as your continuous assessment. So my group, we were doing ours on menstrual hygiene. So we decided to go to a nearby school, UDS Basic School, to interview some students, some female students, and then some of their teachers on how these girls cope and the menstrual stereotypes and all of those things. During those periods, that interview, we noticed that two of them, one of them said that whenever she's menstruating, she doesn't come to school at all. So whenever she's absent from school, her teachers will know that she's menstruating. So sometimes it's the teachers that will even get her the pad to use. Another one that we spoke to mentioned that when she's menstruating, if her mother buys her a sanitary pad, when she's coming to school throughout that week, she won't come with money. So when she comes, she will have to eat from home and come to school. Either eat with her friends or during break time, she will go back to the house to eat. And the house is a far distance from the school. So she was saying that sometimes to eating with her friends, it's like sometimes they get fed up. They behave as though they don't really want to share. So sometimes when she goes home like that during break time, she's not even able to come back. So there were other girls that gave other stories and some testimonies from teachers. How these girls, most of them, when they are menstruating, even questions in class, they can't stand up to answer questions because they are afraid that the boys behind them will see either they are stained clothes, or even if they are not stained, they feel like they might just stand up and they'll be stained and they will know and they will see and tease them. So all of those things are issues that some girls go through.
Still face.
Yes, even as we speak.
It's not easy, is it?
Not at all. So in my community, I would say accessibility, yes, but affordability. The whole point was on accessibility. But I would also like to add that accessibility when it comes to information has been poor. The information out there when it comes to young girls don't have the right information. They don't even know that they menstruate or they can menstruate or there'll be a time that they would menstruate. You would just see that it happens to her and she has to take it like that, which is not fair. So for me, let me give a story about my younger sister. So if she has, we are 5 and I'm the first. So my 2 other sisters that are next to me, they are already menstruating. And when it was her turn to menstruate, she got really uncomfortable to use a pad. She knew what a pad was about, but she felt ashamed to use it. She wanted to use a rubber, black rubber.
Black rubber bag.
Yes, black rubber. She preferred using that than using a pad because she felt like there was some kind of disgrace and embarrassment in using it.
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Right.
She just really wasn't comfortable.
Because black rubber is not absorbent at all, is it?
Not at all. She was like, no, she would not use it. And I was like,
wow.
She didn't think that using a pad was good for her or had
Right.
some health benefits when it comes to menstruation. She just thought that it was shameful and embarrassing to use a sanitary pad. Yes.
So there are some myths that need to be
It's-
busted as a
it's
result.
Not, it's not the myth
It's not
behind
the-
it. She felt ashamed that she was menstruating and she wanted a way out. She didn't want to be like everybody. So she didn't have the information. And I think
So
it's
how did
because-
you overcome that barrier?
Yeah, I talked her through it, and
Right.
she understood the concept of what menstruation is, and then she was okay using a sanitary.
So it looks like big sisters also have huge duties to perform these
what-
days.
Yes.
The role of educating younger sisters seems to be falling on them naturally.
For me, accessibility and affordability, back then when I started with my menstruation was fun because I could remove 5 cedi from my mom bag and go to the store and get a pad. I could misuse it. Even if I can use 3, I'll try and use 3. But for now, even 1, it's a problem. So now what I do is I mix, I complement reusable and then disposable. So in that, I'll be able to manage my expenses. And with regards to those in the community, I had the opportunity to start my engagement when I went to the university, move around communities, around campus. And when you go and speak to them about them using pad, have they used pad? Yes, they know they use pad. But the issue is, if they're going to use it, madam, they will tell you, madam,